Imagine this: the cold metallic corridors of the Empire echoing with the whispers of dissent. The hum of TIE fighters above cityscapes where oppression is dressed in bureaucracy. Somewhere, in that shadowed mosaic of rebellion and control, a man quietly evolves. He doesn't wear a cape, he doesn't speak in prophecy, he just listens, learns, and one day acts. And his name is Cassian Andor. Now let's talk about why Andor's final season on Disney Plus is not just another chapter in the sprawling Star Wars mythos. It is, quite possibly, the most grounded and consequential arc this galaxy has offered us in years. Cassian began as a reluctant participant in a war that felt too big, too scattered, too lost in whispers and betrayals. But what the upcoming season promises isn't just his transformation into the man we meet in Rogue One. It's the collapse of his apathy and the forging of something vital, something that speaks to every one of us watching. The cost of becoming who you're meant to be. This second and final season of Andor, slated for release on April 22, 2025, is designed like a 4-act play. Each act covers a different year leading up to Rogue One, giving us that rare luxury of time. Time to understand, to sit with choices, to taste the bitterness of betrayal and the sweetness of rebellion's first victories. That's rare. That's storytelling with patience and purpose. Now, I'll say this. There's a particular electricity in the air when you know you're approaching the end of a story. And everyone involved in this production knows it. You can feel it in the decisions being made, from character trajectories that refuse to play safe, to the visual tone that leans into the gray instead of the black and white. Returning alongside Diego Luna's magnetic performance as Andor, we have an ensemble that's practically a masterclass in layered character work. Genevieve O'Reilly's Mon Mothma, a political operator par excellence whose internal war often feels more tense than any firefight. Forrest Whitaker's Saw Gerrera reminds us that the rebellion, too, can blur into extremism. Stellan Skarsgård's Luthen Rael continues to dance the most dangerous tightrope in the galaxy. And for those of you with an eye for poetic symmetry, yes, Ben Mendelsohn returns as the cold-blooded Krennic. His icy grip on the Death Star project will now echo with even greater significance. Then there's K2SO, voiced by the irreplaceable Alan Tudyk. We're finally going to see the origin of that bond between Cassian and the droid, and let me tell you, when a cold, sarcastic Imperial droid becomes one of the most loyal figures in your life, that says something about who you are and who you've become. And here's something I've been turning over in my head for weeks: Cyril Karn. Once a symbol of misguided ambition inside the bureaucratic engine of the Empire, there's speculation, no, a feeling that he may not stay where he is. I've seen enough storytelling to know when a character's edges are softening, when guilt and disillusionment start seeping into that crisp uniform. Could Cyril switch sides? Could the story be setting him up for redemption, or will he cling harder to control the more the galaxy crumbles around him? Either way, his arc is a tightrope, and watching him balance it is one of this series' quiet joys. But perhaps the most tantalizing piece is the Gorman Massacre. Those of you who've studied the canon know what I'm talking about. A flashpoint event where the Empire, in its cruelty, slaughters peaceful protesters. It's a moment that breaks the soul of the Senate and solidifies Mon Mothma's path. If the season shows this, and from what I've gathered, it will, it's going to be a punch in the gut, because revolutions are never clean and the decisions that build them are soaked in sacrifice. And yes, I've heard the whispers of a Vader cameo. If he appears even briefly, it won't just be for fan service. His shadow is already looming over this narrative like a storm cloud. To see him even for a heartbeat would be a stark reminder of the stakes and the darkness that fuels the machine Cassian and his allies are trying to dismantle. But above all, this season is about building bridges between people, between ideologies, and between fates. It's the final descent into inevitability. We know how this ends, and yet we don't. Not really. Because how we get there, that's the story. That's the beauty. So if you've been sleeping on Andor, now's the time to catch up. Because when April comes, it's not just the end of a series, it's the end of a statement. A series that dared to ask, what does rebellion really look like? And then answered with grit, grace, and a kind of elegance the Star Wars universe rarely gets to explore. The Force may be with us, but this time it's wearing a cloak of espionage, intrigue, and impossible choices. If you enjoyed this journey through the final season of Andor, give this video a like, drop a comment with your favorite theory, or better yet, tell me what you think is going to break Cassian before he's ready to be the hero we remember. And don't forget to subscribe to Greenground for more charming takes on stories that matter. Details there in the description as always. See you in the stars!